Greetings, Sam. I've been out of the loop for a while because I've been very sick. In fact, I'm going into the hospital for surgery next week. I've had fibroids for a couple of years, and they've gotten worse. This year, they've gotten really worse. And so the only treatment for the fibroids are either freezing them off, and there's the possibility that they will return, or a total hysterectomy, which is a guarantee that they won't return. So I'm going for the guarantee. And that's why you haven't seen me, because it's hard to do videos when you're in pain. I can't sit up here and talk to y'all about stuff and I'm in pain, because all I want to do is lay down and get rid of the pain. They used to have a song called "I Haven't Got Time for the Pain." Well, when I'm doing videos, I haven't got time for the pain. But there was something that made me want to do this, and so I asked the Lord to give me the strength to do this one video, which I felt was very important to share with you all. And what brought it on was an incident that happened to me on a bus last year. I got on the bus with my walker, which happens to be embellished with the Louis Vuitton logo. I have the seat cover, I have the stickers around the arms of the walker. And some of you who've seen me in person know that I use this to get around. And I like it because Grandma likes to have her swag. And so this is my Louis Vuitton walker swag. And when I got on the bus, this white woman took it upon herself to notice the walker. And she said, "Does Louis Vuitton know that you're misappropriating their logo like that?" And I was done. I said, "Oh, no, she didn't. She's trying to call me out on my walker, as much stuff as her culture has stolen from my culture. And now she wants to call me out." So I told her, I said, "Miss, no, they don't know. And as a matter of fact, I got it from China. And a heads up, the best bootlegs are done by the Chinese and the Africans." But the point being was, how dare she try to throw me under the bus? Ha ha ha, I was on the bus. And for having Louis Vuitton's logo. So I thought about it and I said, wow, there's a lot of stuff that has been appropriated by white culture, in particular foreign white culture, from Africans. And now here is someone, making a big deal out of my one little, thing. So in doing my research, I realized that one of the most popular songs ever was appropriated by Disney, made $16 million dollars and still counting. And it was written and originally made by a black man who died poor. In fact, he was so poor, his family didn't even have indoor plumbing. And so this is the story of that. And I call it The Lion King because Disney, in their millions earned off their movie rights and playwrights and song rights of their work, The Lion King, has used this song and made millions, and the man was never compensated, and his family was poorly compensated towards the end. So this is the story of that song, and it's called "The Lion Sleeps Tonight." Now, he was born in 1909, Solomon Linda. He grew up in the Zulu country in South Africa, and he never learned to read or write. But he was much admired as a singer. He moved to Johannesburg in his 20s and formed an a cappella band he called the Evening Birds. And they built a popular following with their distinctive style, which was inspired by the traditional call and response chants. They built four-part harmonies with Linda's improvised vocals soaring over the top. In 1939, Linda worked as a cleaner at the Gallo Record Company. One night after his shift, he was permitted to use the studio to record a song he called Umbubi. Now, that meant lion in Zulu. It became a big hit and made Linda a star among his audiences, which were black at the time, because as many of you know, South Africa was knee-deep in apartheid at the time. Unfortunately, as Gallo, who had purchased the recording from Linda for a reported 10 shillings. Linda never earned anything from the sales. It was a musicologist, Alan Lomax, who was another unsung hero, who started the song on its worldwide journey. In his role as a folk music director for Decca Records, he was sent the song and showed it to folk innovator Pete Seeger. He adapted the song for his band, The Weavers, keeping the chanted chorus and a version of Linda's improvised melody. He named the version Wimoweh, and a misheard version of the original chorus, which was Umi Bube, You Are a Lion. It reached the top 10 on the Billboard charts in 1952. So this was the first incarnation of the song. Wimoweh saw many cover versions throughout the 1950s, but the next development edged the song further away from the original in 1961. After the successful doo-wop group, The Tokens, used the song to audition for RCA Records. Some producers from the label were impressed enough to try to develop a pop version. Along with the full band, they employed a soprano for extra vocals, but the real masterstroke was to adapt an especially inspired segment of Linda's original improvisation into a melody with the now famous lines, "In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight." Although the Tokens were initially unconvinced by this arrangement of the song, they loved it, and they persuaded the label to let them cut it as a B-side. It seems, though, that the record-buying public saw something more in the song. Now, this is often done as a result of people who, groups and so forth, who feel that the songs are not going to be popular. So they have what they call the A-side and the B-side. And in this case, the version of The Lion Sleeps Tonight by the Tokens made no mention of Solomon Linda. It reached #1 at the end of 1961 and inspired a seemingly endless streak of cover songs, of the same song, covers, that's what they called them back then, when you took a song that already existed and then just covered it. The trouble was that as the song evolved, no provision was made for recognizing the original author, Solomon Linda's work. It seems in the complicated process of licensing and publishing, either Linda's ownership of the composition was either ignored or nobody quite followed the legal trail back to the original composer. As Pete Seeger has put it, the big mistake I made in not making sure my publisher signed, in not making sure that his publisher, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. The publishers, it's their responsibility to sign a regular songwriter's contract with Linda. And even though he sent Linda some money and copyrighted the Weavers arrangement and sent the Weavers some money, when Seeger realized the error, he arranged a donation of $1,000 and his share of ongoing royalties to Solomon Linda, but it seemed even this never found its way back to South Africa. The next twist was in 1994 when the song was featured in the movie The Lion King. Now, the thread was picked up in a Rolling Stone article by Rian Malan, and Rian was actually the white man who did manage, after many, many years, to get Solomon Linda's family some compensation for the money, and he estimated for the song, and he estimated that the royalties from the film alone were at $15 million. So the story was adapted into a documentary, A Lion's Trail, and the surrounding publicity prompted a lawsuit against Abilene Music, who had licensed the song to Disney. And in 2006, 44 years after Linda died in poverty, he was acknowledged finally as the composer of the original song, and his estate was awarded the rights to past and future royalties. In the meantime, the township of Soweto and elsewhere, the evening bird sound was developed over the decades into a sophisticated style sometimes referred to as mbube, now reintroduced to the West by groups such as Ladysmith Black Mambanzo and Soweto Gospel Choir. The original four-chord progression, which was heard in Linda's scratchy recording, has formed the basis for countless songs and has reverberated throughout Western popular music. From my research on what the family was awarded, I understand that his three surviving daughters, he had four daughters, one passed away from AIDS, but the three surviving daughters got less than $250,000 apiece. And in their agreement with Disney, who they took to court, Disney made them sign an agreement that they would not expect any further future royalties, that they were given something which was a clause back then that you can only be compensated 25 years worth of royalties on an original song that had not been copywritten by the original owner. And so this was pretty disappointing to me because I could just imagine all the black people who died poor, having given away unknowingly because of ignorance. And this is why it's important to get an education, because Solomon Linda did not know how to read or write. So he couldn't even sign away his royalties because he didn't know how to read or write. And they had documents which showed his signature. But how can a person who does not know how to read or write sign something? So that's one part of the equation. The other part is that those in the know, who know this is not their work, should have done more to protect the rights of the person, of the rightful owner. But people don't do that. I have a neighbor who told me he was in a store one day and a guy dropped $40 on the floor. And instead of telling the man he dropped his money, he waited for his opportunity and picked up the money. And I said to him, his name is Ray Ray, and I said, Ray Ray, you know that ain't right. Why would you do that? And he's like, well, he didn't know he dropped it. That's not an excuse for you to steal it. But a lot of people figure if you don't know that, you know, your rights, or you don't know that you lost something, it's okay for them to take it. So my point, family, is that, you know, this woman had a damn nerve talking about my Louis Vuitton Walker when there's so much that's done on a bigger, larger scale to misappropriate and appropriate things that don't belong to us. I thank you for your time. Pray for me while I'm in the hospital. I'm not too concerned because I'm not attached to this world. So if God calls me home, that's a blessing. It'll be a blessing to be away from some of these damn demons. But if he decides to keep me here a little longer, then I'll be back with a video update. Thank you to those of you who continue to support the ministry. And I'm going to end like I always do in prayer. Lord, I thank you for this day. I thank you for the listeners of the word and for those who follow the ministry and who are blessed by it. Lord, I thank you for the subscribers. I thank you for those who have unsubscribed because they're mad at me. God bless them, Lord. You know, it is what it is. I'm not going to please everybody, but so I concentrate on pleasing you, Lord, and that's who I serve. Thank you for Brother Solomon Linda, Lord, who made a magnificent work. And even though he did not receive his acknowledgement in his lifetime, I am sure he is with you, Lord, and he is receiving his just deserts. I thank you and I bless you in the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen.